Cush begat Nimrod, the one who, his name means rebellion. He rebelled against God. God said, you scattered. Nimrod said, we're not going to do it. Mizraim is the father of the Egyptian nation. In fact, in Egyptian, understand, Mizraim, their name for Egypt is Mizraim. Foot brought the Sidonians and Canaanites. Well, in Egypt, they had suddenly, the big puzzle in archaeology is there's no history of them learning how to build the pyramids. The first pyramids were the best. The later ones were inferior, and they went down, down, down until they're in quality. No experiment that they did it. The first ones were the best. How could that happen? Well, they had the high level of science and technology before the flood. When the flood came, it wiped it out, but not the memory that it could be done. They have to rebuild, but they didn't have to reinvent. If you want to read a fascinating book, secular book, Fingerprints of the Gods by Graham Hancock. And he tells about exploring the pyramids and climbing them. And of course, they're not supposed to do it, so they bribe the guards, and the guards would come around and they get a shotgun, they were going to shoot them. And it's difficult to climb the pyramids, but he gives a moment-to-moment account of it, tells how they successfully bribed the guards, and went up at midnight, up on top, 400 plus feet, 450 feet up in the air on those pyramids at midnight. Easy to go up, but how do you come down? They had to do that too. And here's what he says. The archaeological evidence suggests that rather than developing slowly and painfully, as is normal with human societies, the civilization of ancient Egypt, like that of the Olmecs, emerged all at once and fully formed. And we see these civilizations around the world, in South America and the Olmecs in Mexico and other places, fully formed. The first parts of their civilization were the best, and they went down in quality from there. Hancock, page 135, there's a picture of his book. Very fascinating book to read. Non-Christian, but very fascinating. They also had machine tools to carve diorite bowls like this. And diorite is one of the hardest of rocks. It has a hardness higher than cast iron, which has the carbon and iron to make that hard material in it. And they were made on lathes. You can tell that from the carvings on them. Here's Dr. Swift holding one of those bowls, many of them. But the most fascinating thing, well, one of the most fascinating things was these granite vases. And those were carved by tubular drilling, a round, hollow tube that cut down in. And you know, as a drill goes into material, it's turning and goes down, so it makes a spiral on the wall. Most of these vases that we've found have been finished and polished, but this one wasn't. It's very rare, but you can see how they went down. And by measuring the distance that they went down, it takes our best diamond drills to do this, to even begin to cut that kind of stuff. By the measure of how far they went down per turn, it shows that their drills went down 500 times faster than our best modern diamond drills would do to carve those kinds of things out. And so Egyptian artifacts representing tubular drilling are clearly the most astounding and conclusive evidence yet presented to indicate the extent to which machining knowledge and technology were practiced in ancient prehistory. There's Dunn, he's a machinist, spent 40 years as a machinist expert on it. He studied these things. So I would like to suggest that the machine power, rather than saying it's manpower over many, many years, it shows that these pyramids were constructed using machine power. In one case, one of the pyramids, because of the dates on it, a pyramid with millions of these blocks was finished in less than 2 years. Now you figure the crew that had to do that, the food they would have to have, it just doesn't make any sense at all to haul that material in and get it all done. It'd take thousands and thousands of workers and support and everything else. No, they did it in just a short time with just a few workers. Why? Because they had machine power. We even have stones that you can see. We use stone saws, like for gravestones and others, wires on a wheel that turn, and with the braces you cut them. We can see those kind of patterns on the stones that they use. So I would like to suggest that the pyramids were made using machine power, powered machinery. Summary, they had a high level of mathematics. They knew about pi and E, and advanced technology, power-driven machines, quality optical lenses. We thought, we dug up these lenses, and they had carvings on some ivory tools or knife handles. And we thought they were just little black dots, but by magnifying them up like a microscope and looking under them, we have to use a magnification to see them. They had scenes, they had men and boats and trees and stuff. They could carve and look with their magnifying so, and carve so finely, we had to use magnification to see it, just like, their lenses they had. They made telescopes. So what happened? I believe there was a high level of science and technology destroyed during the flood. They reapplied it and then disobeyed God, and as their culture disobeyed God, they went down, down, down in quality. You see that around the world. Others refer to the Minoan civilization. They talk about Minoan civilization. They said, oh, they talk about computers and electric batteries. Guess what? There is a land called Crete in the midst of the wine dark sea, and therein are many men past counting in 90 cities. Among their cities is the great city Knossos, or Minos reigned, he that held converse with the great Zeus. This is from the Odyssey of Homer. Then you see that astronomical association. And in the Popular Science magazine, October 2004, they talked about batteries. Parthians in present-day Baghdad make a crude battery, an iron rod surrounded by a copper cylinder inside a clay jar filled with vinegar. It'll make a battery. It's not very elegant, but it'll make a good voltage, about a little over a volt. And we use carbon and zinc, maybe a volt and 1.5 volts per cell. But they work. The point is they could make electric batteries and electroplate. They use them for analgesia to tone down pain when they wanted to have surgery and so forth. How about Stonehenge in England? And they had a high technology there too. Those stones were carved many miles away, hauled down and put into place. So what was happening? Here's what was happening. At the Middle East, we had a high level of science and technology, but God scattered them out. Now, I've got a doctor's degree in science, but you put me out into the wilderness of Canada or Alaska or Mexico or Africa, I'll have hand-to-mouth existence. What can I eat? How can I stay alive? So I'll suffer culture loss. And so this first wave of migrants out from the Middle East suffered culture loss. Well, what happened after that? History shows us that man's inhumanity to man. The people back at the Middle East had a high level of science and technology. They went out and raided this first wave of migrants, trying to take them back as slaves. If you're being raided by superior technology, what do? You run either further away into the hinterlands and you hide in dens and in caves of the earth. May I suggest that caveman is not primitive man, he was de-cultured man. Same time the races came into existence. There's only one human race. In fact, how about skin color? People ask, well, what about skin color? How do you explain the blacks and whites? Well, from what we now know, making it simple, big story long simple, from what we know of modern genetics, if Adam and Eve had been middle brown, and each, they could have gone from black to white in one generation. You make your own little genetic Punnett square there. Capital letters for dominant traits, small letters for recessive traits. Each child has two parents, dominant, recessive. They could have gone from black to white in one generation. And I've had nurses tell me about situations where they've seen black and white come out of one couple. And in one case, there was a British couple, a man and his wife. They had twin boys, one black and one white. The white boy had blonde hair, blue eyes, and light skin. I've always thought it'd be fun for Adam and Eve to have children. Ooh, wonder what color this one is. Ooh, wonder what color this one is. Ooh, wonder what color this one is. I think it was fun. You never knew what color the next one's going to be. National Geographic magazine for 1933. January 1933, and I want you to look at this article, Air Adventures over Peru. Now, let's just remind ourselves a little bit about history. 1933. 1927 was when Lindbergh flew across the Atlantic in a single-engine airplane. Air traffic was just beginning to go. And in 1933, this is January, so they already had to make this magazine in makeup form several months earlier, if not a year earlier. They flew over the mountains in Peru and they found what looked like the China Wall, the big Great Wall of China. They traced it for 40 miles, and this is at an altitude of 12,000 or more feet up in the Andes. Air is pretty thin up there, and they had primitive airplanes. The Great Wall of Peru, like that of China, may have repelled invasion. And you can see there the airplane lying on the ground. They just came down and landed on a road, and people came in to look at it. And you don't land, you just fly them into the ground.